Welcome everyone to this new edition of the Spainsif Any Other Business podcast, the space where we try to make sure that nothing in sustainable finance is left on the table. Today we are here to talk about AI. Is it AI energy story? Are investors catching up? And for this, we have a representative from one of our most outstanding members, which is BlackRock. Everybody knows this is a leading publicly traded investment management firm with trillions of assets under management. That represents 25k employees in more than 30 countries, serving clients in over 100 countries. So BlackRock does not need an introduction, but just to remind ourselves of the dimension of the company and the influence, right? It's a broad range of investment management, technology, subscription services. So it's a great opportunity to catch up on this very, very important and cutting edge topic. And for this, we have an excellent member of the team, which is Christopher Kaminker. He is the head of the Sustainable Investment Research and Analytics team, the SIRA team. That's part of the BlackRock Investment Institute within the Portfolio Management Group. We will talk about this SIRA team more along the podcast. He's also the CIO for the BSI Intel and the chair of the investment committee. He also chairs the firm's Sustainable and Transition Leadership Group and the Research Council, and it's a member of the Sustainable and Transition Investment Committee, among others. About his background, he is an energy economist and an economic geographer, holding a PhD from Oxford University, something I really admire, being now a PhD candidate myself. And he has published frequently across the sustainable finance literature. That includes several books and also policy recommendations. So it's great to have a really transversal profile that is more frequent these days around the sustainable finance topic. So without stealing any more time from the presentation, I would just dig into the topic. AI is an energy story. Are investors catching up? And I will begin by asking Chris. You lead BlackRock's Sustainable Investment and Research and Analytics team, the SIRA team we were mentioning at the introduction. What is BlackRock's approach to sustainable investment and the low carbon transition nowadays?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you and your audience. It's a pleasure and a privilege, if I may. And I could start just by talking a little bit about BlackRock as a firm and our approach to sustainable and transition investing, just to frame the discussion. The point of departure for us is that we're a fiduciary investor to our clients, right? So we invest on our clients' behalf to help them to meet their investment objectives. And our focus is always on understanding and managing investment risk, anticipating our clients' needs, and supporting them in achieving their long-term investment goals. So as a fiduciary, sustainable and transition investing is central to how many of our clients pursue those financial goals. And it's also a core component of our 2030 strategy to grow the firm and to better serve our clients. When it comes to our approach to sustainable and transition investing in principle and in practice, a couple of points that I would lead with. The first one is that we see the low carbon transition as what we refer to as a mega force. But it's not the only mega force, which we think are going to be increasingly important over the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to investment implications, where risks and where opportunities are. AI is another mega force, which you brought up and we're going to get into in a moment. And of course, there's the intersection between AI and the low carbon transition. So we can get into all of these topics, and I'd love to discuss them with you and share some of our thoughts. But the last point that I would make, just as an introductory piece to this, is how we approach sustainable and transition in practice. And there are really three pillars to how we support our clients. We focus on choice, performance, and research. These are the three pillars. So our clients have many different choices when it comes to how they wish to implement strategies from the perspective of sustainability. So we're laser-like focused on seeking performance on behalf of clients and doing that in the context of how they lay out their needs, wants, and demands when it comes to sustainability. So those are the two principal pillars of our approach: choice and seeking the best risk-adjusted returns. But we underpin choice and performance with research, data, and analytics. And that is the anchor to the other two pillars, as it were.
Thank you so much for this complete photograph on what's the situation on the mega forces and how you approach it as a company. I will take the advantage of that research pillar now, because precisely thinking of what sides of the coin the markets might be underappreciating, I feel like when we talk about AI, we are focusing too much on the competitiveness conversation with respect to the labor market sometimes, right? These are the biggest fears and what the biggest opportunities are as well, in productivity. But from a sustainable investment point of view, there is a side of the coin that has to do with energy. So as a part of a research team and leading it, and from the BlackRock perspective, to what extent is AI investment story and energy and related to energy infrastructure story?
So the key insight for us over the last 18 months or so is that these megaforces are increasingly colliding. They're smashing together. And it's at the intersection of the megaforces where we see the new risks that we need to manage, but also some of the most compelling investment opportunities that aren't fully priced today. Powering the AI build-out, AI data centers, is one such opportunity. There are risks associated with it as well, and there are many different types of opportunities within the powering AI realm, as you like. And inside the collision of those megaforces, we've seen the tension between soaring power demand coming from the AI capex build out. And so these data centers do require electricity. It is the precursor to AI. It is the primitive to AI. And it all runs on electricity. And so it's not surprising that the data centers need lots of electricity, but they need a specific form of power. They need power to come really in 4 different forms. And it is power that's available now, it's power that is affordable, it's power that's reliable, and it's power that's clean. These are the 4 characteristics that the hyperscalers are looking for in principle to underpin the AI capex. But of course, there's a race. There's a race on. There's a race between the hyperscalers, the frontier modelers, to develop the most powerful model. There's a race to develop inference and thinking capacity and compute to be able to support the demand from the consumer and the industrial side of AI. And then there is a race at the geostrategic level, right? There's a race underway between, for instance, the US and China to advance AI. So because of the nature of the urgency around developing AI and developing it in a way that provides moats, that creates moats around the business models, there is a priority to secure power now and for it to be reliable. And the weighting is greater on the availability and on the reliability today than perhaps it is on the affordability and on the decarbonized aspect of it. But that hasn't gone away, and we see that very clearly in the data that the hyperscalers in their commitments have reiterated their commitment to sustainability across multiple dimensions. It's not just from the power side, but it's also the water side, and it's also broader sustainability aspects like communities and affordability within communities. And just over the last couple of weeks, we've seen the AI companies take many steps to try and close the loop on that whole circle. But in the meanwhile, there is a demand which is coming from this that focuses on all of the above power sources that are available today. understandably, given the urgency of the deployment and the CapEx build out, right? And so that, in our view, in the shorter term, is a tide that lifts pretty much all boats across the power system. And it's not just the power generation, it's the grid itself, which is old in many countries and needs to be heavily invested in and upgraded in order to accommodate the new power demand pulses, but also the grid needs to become smarter in order to accommodate variable sources of power generation and distributed sources of power generation. So here we're talking about, for instance, the direction of travel towards a much smarter grid, a smart grid, and to focus on investing in transmission and distribution. You need to get the electrons from where they're generated to where they're actually used and where the need is. Sometimes people say that there will be no energy transition without transmission. And that is a saying that I think has a lot of truth to it, because of that point that a lot of the demand vectors for power are not necessarily where the supply is. So this has become a very important area for pretty much all in the investment community to try and understand how can power generation and grid infrastructure be developed in order to have a electricity framework that is fit for the future that we're headed to. And AI is one source of power demand, and we can unpack how much we're actually expecting and the uncertainty around that. But it's important to remember that it isn't the only source of power demand that we expect to grow in the future. As I mentioned earlier, electrification is the number one investment theme that we see. And pretty much everything in the economy that can electrify economically, we think has a reasonably good chance of electrifying over the next 15 to 20 years. That creates a power demand pulse coming from electrification of transport, electrification of industry, electrification of buildings, and of course, the AI data centers. But that isn't the end of the story. There is also the demand for cooling, air conditioning, which is increasing especially in emerging markets. So the picture looks different from a geographical perspective. The AI workloads, the training, is much more clustered than some of these other electrification sources. Again, combination between exponential, potentially, demand for intelligence and potentially limited supply. And it's at the intersection there where you find risks that need to be managed, but also investment opportunities. When there is a gridlock, right? When there is a choke point like that, the companies that can help to unlock that are beneficiaries. And the companies that can help to meet that demand are clearly beneficiaries. And it's a whole stack. It's a electrification and what we could refer to as an electrotech stack that forms the basis of everything here that is going to grow in the future.
And Chris, I cannot help but wonder, because given now this interrelation or intersection between the mega forces of decarbonization and AI, would that be correct to say that we shouldn't rush? We shouldn't rush to conclude that it's going to be a trade-off because of the developments in decarbonization might be faster than what we are anticipating, and the efficiency in AI developments might be also a big player in this game. So would it be correct to say it is way too soon to conclude that is going to be a trade-off necessarily because of AI for decarbonization?
I think that the framing makes sense intuitively because of the uncertainty that we've been discussing here. There are so many uncertainties about the path that we'll take in the future, but there are known knowns. There are known unknowns as well, right? And we can discuss some of them. So we do know, for instance, that back to some of my earlier comments, the race and the build out will be a tide that lifts all forms of power generation, given the urgency to secure firm baseload power generation for the training of the models and for the dissemination of AI across the economy. We also do know that the hyperscalers are investing very heavily in the next generation of what could be referred to as clean firm technology. And a day doesn't go by where we don't hear about some new deal that has been struck between a hyperscaler and a next generation exciting form of power. We are so fascinated by the frontier of technology innovation and the brilliance of these scientists and the capital formation that is occurring around it, but there is still quite a lot of uncertainty as to when they will be available, at what cost, and when that will be able to scale up to the point that it makes a promising contribution to meet the electrification and the data center demand. So that even within that, there is considerable uncertainty. And then you have another piece to the puzzle here, which is what is going to happen with the grid, because the grid is a certain size. And in the US, it's, for instance, 1.3 or so terawatts. That's the power generating capacity, but it's only used 50 to 60% of the time. A lot of that is backup capacity, which is very important to be there. So could you get more out of the existing grid? Yes. And there have been lots of studies that have shown you can get more out of the existing grid, but it does require innovation and investment in the grid in order to unlock those electrons. You do need a smarter grid. You need to move those electrons around to the places where they're needed and when they're needed. So of course there's an investment opportunity that's associated with that as well. And then there's energy efficiency. People forget about energy efficiency, but it's called the first fuel for a reason, because it's safe energy that you don't have to spend in the first place if you're more efficient. And again, there is a whole group of very exciting companies that are involved in the energy efficiency space to help us to do more with less.
Sorry, Chris, because I was wondering, all these potential opportunities, innovation, etc., how does this translate to the financial conversation? I'm thinking asset classes, portfolio construction, like how, from a pure financial asset class point of view, how does this translate to an actually investable opportunity?
So there are three ways to answer that question. The first one is back to our capabilities at BlackRock, where we actually have models of the transition itself. And the reason we do that is because, back to where we started the conversation, we track the real economy, but then how much of that is priced in. And if it's not fully priced in, that's an investment opportunity. If the market isn't recognizing the earnings potential of the companies over time, you might want to own those companies today before the market realizes that, yes, they are going to have greater profit pools that they will enjoy. And so that is one side of it, but then there are also profit pools that could shift over time and move elsewhere. So that's the risk side of the equation. You bring it all together, and our current view is that electrification capex, the capex that's associated with the electrification build out, is not fully priced in to the valuation of utilities companies today. It's not priced in European utility companies, nor is it fully priced in US utilities companies. So from a strategic asset allocation perspective, using our capital markets assumptions, we have been overweight utilities in the US and in the EU to play that electrification theme, which we don't think is fully priced.
Okay, and from Spainsif, so the Spanish Sustainable Investment Forum, I need to make this question. How about Spain in this picture? What is the role that a country such like Spain could play in this demand for clean energy, the digital infrastructure, computing capacity?
Well, Spain could emerge as a strategic nexus at the intersection of clean energy and digital infrastructure. It's very clear, and in particular, it could become a champion for both cheap and green compute, since it can offer both. With back to the economic geography and the energy resources point, Spain is blessed with an abundance of solar and has long coasts, and a beautiful country that I love greatly from a human perspective, but also a fantastic country from the perspective of everything that we've been talking about in principle. In practice, I think it will get back to some of the discussions that we've had before around tipping points and sticking points. There are sticking points in Spain, just as there are in other countries, that policymakers and companies can work together to overcome, and then to build out these economic opportunities. So Spain is definitely a low-cost renewable energy hub. It's got that abundant solar and wind supply for domestic demand. This will attract energy-intensive industry, could potentially export power into Europe, which, back to the point about getting the electrons to where they need to be. And then it is also a scalable data center and AI compute location, combining all of these things: electricity, available land, and strong underwater cable connectivity that links to Europe with the US, Latin America, and even Africa. So this could enable much better co-location of renewables and hyperscale computing to meet rising constraints, and to do this in an economically efficient manner. So overall, the crystallization, if you will, of this upside will depend on improving the grid interconnections, managing other resource constraints. This could also include water, for instance, and competing effectively with more established, perhaps Northern European hubs in terms of policy, regulations, incentives, and those type of things.
We will have an eye on it. Definitely looks like exciting times ahead in this field. Some topic that has been really protagonist in these past months in Spain, and the sustainable finance community in Spain, has had to do with responsible investment in the space of AI, but related to a responsible use of AI. So from an investment perspective, and that would be my last question, because we might be running out of time and heading towards the end of the podcast, but is there such things as a responsible use of AI within the investment case?
Well, just like any other sector or technology, AI has both positive and potentially less positive aspects to it. And rather than taking a one-sided view or avoiding the space altogether, the key is perhaps to differentiate and to be more nuanced within the opportunity set that specific investment criteria can be applied to. It's not just about how you build what you're doing and what you're the product that you're making, but it's also where are you doing that. So that's why how, what, and where is a useful typology for doing this. And we combine that in our investment process with when. When are these things going to happen? When are they going to be priced in? And we have a 40-year heritage at BlackRock of systematic investing. We are trying to put, as simply as possible, collect the dots and then connect the dots. And this is becoming a lot more powerful with AI. AI helps us to do this. So, put all together, and just to summarize our conversation, and I'm very grateful again for the opportunity to spend some time with you today and for your excellent questions. There are real investment opportunities here, and there are risks that need to be managed. And we're doing our best on behalf of clients to deliver on choice, to seek the best risk-adjusted returns in the context of that choice. And we ground all of that work in research, data, and analytics. And the last point which you asked about was what AI could do for sustainability. So maybe I'll just conclude with a few ideas. AI can help across sustainability and the energy system to do things much better, to measure better, to optimize, and to discover new things. Across the mitigation side, the decarbonization side, you can use AI to do much better emissions data gathering and processing, but then to optimize the energy system through smart grids, routing those electrons to where they need to be. So we are just scratching the surface, I think, of how AI is going to help to accelerate scientific discovery and to improve climate and social related outcomes in the future.
Thank you so much, Chris. I think this is the perfect ending for the conversation that we just had. And by this, I will close up mentioning as concepts as fancy as I heard that you mentioned, like the orbital datasets, and of course this how and what and where and when and how technical we need to get to approach this environment. So again, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you to BlackRock also for participating into this AOB podcast, and to our audience, thank you for listening. And we will listen to each other and see on the next edition of this podcast.